Hello and welcome to the Writing Music for Bells with Musescore class. My name is
I think
Sam.
there's some
I've
technical
been
issues.
playing bells on and off since I was about 11 or so. I started using Musescore almost 10 years ago as a way to do arrangements of some songs that I had ideas for, and I still continue to use it for a few reasons. First and most obviously, it's free. It's open source, so that means lots of people from all over the world work on this software. Secondly, it has excellent documentation. Here on the website, you can see under this support tab, they have an online handbook, they have some video tutorials, and as well as they have a very active user forum. In fact, one of the techniques I'm going to show you later today is a suggestion I got from a user on the forum. And the third reason I use it is probably the reason that most of you are here, and that is the online sharing capabilities. This is a big thing that has enabled Tintab to practice remotely without access to bells. You can create a free account on Musescore's website, and you can upload scores that you've made with the software and share them. And there's a mobile version in the App Store and on Google Play. So you can use your computer, phone, or tablet to view scores. Note you can't make scores with the app, you can only play back and view them. So to show you how this works, I've logged into my account on Musescore's homepage. And all I have to do is click on this upload button right here. And it will prompt me to select a file. We're going to pick this one. And okay, so while it's uploading, I'm going to show you some of these settings right here. The most important one is this drop-down menu on the right. This will determine who can see what you can upload. If it's set to public, which is the default, then anyone can find your score using the search bar at the top of the page. If you set it to private, that means that only people with your account information can access it. It's only visible to the account user. And this is, you can toggle this setting for all of your scores. So if some of them you want private, some of them you want public, you can change that. Okay, we'll scroll down here and click Save. And it will automatically take you to the page once it's finished uploading. And we'll click on the play button here. And this is what the playback sounds like. Some of you will probably recognize this piece. Okay, and so that's what it sounds like. Now, the big advantage to this is let's look at some of these settings we have up here at the top. Now, some of these functions only work in the mobile apps, like this is the zoom setting, and you can see if I click this, it prompts me to use the app. So when you're using the app on like your phone or your tablet, you can zoom in and out. I'm using a computer, so it's not letting me do it right now. This is kind of cool right here, this one in the middle. This is a little metronome, so you can actually adjust the playback tempo right here. So let's go down to 80%. Click on the first measure to take it back. And it's slowed down. So that's how that works. And the feature that I know that several of our ringers use probably the most is this loop feature right here. So if we click on this little symbol, you can tell it to repeat certain measures. So let's say we'll start at measure 2, we'll end at measure 4. So it's automatically bound to measure 2. And you can see it automatically went back to measure 2. This can be really helpful for practicing those difficult sections that you just want to drill over and over again. You can just turn the tempo down and then set it to loop that section, and it will just do it automatically for you. So how we made this platform work for us is that we just have a Tintabulations account that all of our members have access to, and they can see all the music that I have uploaded. The biggest advantage to this is that it's accessible from computer, phone, tablet, any device that you have, basically. And it has all these playback features. And you can see like there's a little red square that's following along as the music is playing. In the app, it has a little blue bar that actually scrolls across the measure. So that's a really, really helpful visual cue for some people, especially when working on difficult passages or learning new music. Now, in order to upload the score, I first had to create it using the software. So I think we'll switch gears here and I will show you a few settings and tweaks that I've made to the software to make it work for handbell music. So here is what the blank interface looks like. And we're gonna come up to the top left corner here and create a new score. And we'll open this dialog window and we'll just give it a title. Click next. Now for bells, you can use a piano score that will work just fine. Under custom templates here, I have actually created a handbell template, and creating a template is fairly easy, so I'm just going to demonstrate that now, how I created this. So I will pick for my instrument grand staff, and I'm going to click finish. So now I have the blank score, and let's change some of these settings. I'm going to right click on any measure and pick staff part properties right here. If you come down here to where it says change instrument, you can leave it as a piano sound, that's totally fine. I personally like to use the vibraphone sound. I think it sounds the closest to bells. You can see right here, there is actually a handbells instrument. I really don't recommend it. It does not sound very good. It doesn't sound like handbells at all, in my opinion. So I like to use the vibraphone sound. So we'll click OK. Under here where it says part name, we can change that to say handbells. And I like to remove the text that's in both of these instrument name boxes just because it will actually show up in the score, and we really don't need it for bell music. You don't typically see that. Now handbells also sound an octave higher than what's written, so we can change that setting right here where it says transposition down here. We'll say 1 octave up and click OK. So now when it has playback, it will sound an octave higher than what is written. And in bell music, there are often measure numbers on each measure. So to add measure numbers, we come up here to Format and Style. And here on the left, it says measure numbers. So we just say we want it to be on an interval of 1 measure. And we can show the first measure as well. So now we have measure numbers on our lovely score here. And then also under the style panel, down here where it says page, right here where it says grand staff distance, I like to change this to say 11. And that's just a spacing unit that Musescore likes to use. Click OK. And what that did was it just made some more space between the treble and the bass clef here. There's more space for you to put in bell symbols and to have the up and down stemmed notes. I know that style page looks a little intimidating. There's a lot of things that you can do with that. And as you use the program, you'll get more familiar with it. And there's really, really great documentation in the handbook for what everything under that folder does. Oh, let's see, what else do we want to do? And the last setting we will also look at is going to be under this format menu again, but it's under page settings this time. And this is where you can adjust your page margins, and this setting right here, the scaling. This one's really important. This is going to determine how big your notes are on the page. The setting I use for that is 0.075. And that will get you, most bell music will be 4 lines per page, and that will get you that spacing. Now for page margins, I have found that 1/2 inch actually works really well, except for down the middle of the page where the hole punch goes. I give that 5/8 of an inch just to give it that little bit of extra space so you don't hole punch right through the music. So on the odd page margins, that is going to be on the right-hand side. So we can 0.63, that's about 5/8 of an inch. And you can see it automatically adjusted the even page margin to reflect that. Come back down here, 0.5, click apply, and we'll click OK. So that's some of the basic settings that I like to use with bell music. Now when you save this, Musescore creates a directory on your computer when it installs, and there's several folders in it. So let's come up here to File, Save As. Here is the Musescore directory. Now, when you save scores, it automatically will save them right here in the scores folder. But since this is a template, we're going to come down here to the templates folder, and we'll save it in here. And you can see this is where I have put my handbell template that I've already created. So when you save this blank score in your templates folder, it will come up in that dialog box when you open the program, and it will show up under your custom templates menu. So that way that's all done, and you don't have to do that over and over again for every score. So I'm going to cancel because I don't need this. We don't need to save that. Let's see here. So let's open up the file that I uploaded earlier, and I'll show you how I added some custom bell symbols and things to that. So let's open. Here's the file. Okay, now over here on the left side of the page are called palettes. This is how you'll add a lot of articulations and things to your music, you know, dynamics, staccatos, fermatas, that sort of thing. You can actually create a custom palette, and that's what I did at first with all the handbell symbols in it. But I ran into trouble when I was going to format them. When you create a custom palette, Musescore does not put in any default settings for them. So when I was having to put in, you know, dozens of mallet symbols and whatnot, I was having to manually adjust each one. And it was really kind of a pain. And so this is where a user on the forum suggested to me that I input the symbols as text, because the text function actually has a lot of built-in formatting options, and this really makes things much easier. So I can pick a note, pick this one. If I hit Control-T, that switches into text input mode. And if we come down here to the bottom left part of the screen, we'll see this little alpha symbol. That is the symbols. We'll open up the special characters window here. And you can see there is, on this musical symbols tab, a place for handbell symbols. And they're all right here. So if I just, let's move it over a bit, double click, and there you can see my Mart symbol showed up in the score over the note that I had selected. Now that's a little bit small. So let's come over here on the right side. You can see we have the inspector over here. And I can change the size. So let's see. Let's make it that size. I can adjust the position right here with these X and Y functions if I want to move it up or down. I can put it above or below the staff. And then I just can click away from it, and it has set that mark right where I want it. And the advantage to inserting it as text is you can just copy and paste this to as many notes as you want. So I can click the symbol again, click Control-C, click another note, and hit Control-V. And I can just keep doing that, and it will just put it in really quickly. That's a really great way to put in a whole bunch of symbols very quickly. Now, playback. You can't get every single bell sound with playback because there is not a handbell sound font for Musescore, at least not a very good one. So you can kind of cheat some things, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So for Mars, things like Mars, which have a shorter sound, what I will often do is come over here and add a staccato. You can see a little staccato showed up here. And if I come over here to the inspector, I will check visible, and it will turn that little staccato invisible. So you still get the playback. You can also press V, that will also turn it invisible. So you still get the shortened playback for those notes, but you won't see it in the final version. You can see how that was a bit shorter. For shakes, you can come over here to the tremolos, and the same thing. You put the tremolo on the note, make it invisible, and I can input SK text. So let's hear what that sounds like. So that will give you an approximate shake sound. Chimes, of course, have a different shaped note head, and that's really easy to change too. You just pick whichever notes you want to change. Come over here under the inspector, and where it says head group, you pick mi, as in do, re, mi. For whatever reason, that one is just the one that's built into the program that looks the most like the chime note head right here. And there is a way to add a bells used chart. I typically don't add it when I am uploading scores to the app, just because you don't need it for playback, and why do extra work when you don't have to? But if you're writing arrangements or something else and you want to know how to do it, I will run through really quickly how to do that. So you want to, first thing to do, you want to select the first measure, come up here to where it says add measures, and we're going to insert one measure. Okay, now we select this measure we've just created. We're going to come over here to the palettes, and here where it says frames and measures, and right here this little symbol with the horizontal arrows, we click and drag it over to the second measure. And you can see it put this little box in right here in between them. Now, under the breaks and spacers menu right here, this little symbol that kind of looks like a sideways 16th note, this is a section break. We'll click and drag this over to that box. And now we have our single first measure on a line by itself. If we want to center it, all we have to do is drag over another one of these horizontal frames onto this measure. And now there's a little box on the left side here. So now it's centered. Now we don't want this time signature here. So what we can do is come over here to where it says time signatures, drag it down to the first measure, and then select the one here, and we just hit delete and delete it. And you can see it stayed in this measure down here, but it deleted it from this top one. So now that we have the basic chart set up, now we're going to right click and change some of these measure properties. So if we come over to this window, we want the notes to be stemless, because on a bells used chart, the notes are always stemless. And we want to exclude this measure from the measure count. So this little 1 is going to go away. Click apply, and the 1 went away. Now I typically add notes as 16th notes just to get as many in as possible. So if we pick 16th note, you can see it change. We'll add some notes here. I'll just add some as a sample. And you can add octaves as well once you start getting to these upper notes. Now, since Musescore treats this as an actual measure, you can see when we go to playback, it's going to play all these notes. Now, you can't prevent it from reading the measure, but you can actually prevent it from playing the notes so you don't get this weird sounding scale at the beginning. So how we're going to do that, we select the measure, right click, we're going to select all of the notes, and over here on the inspector, we're going to uncheck this play box. So now these notes will not play, even though you can see it scrolling past them, but there's no sound. So that's the best workaround I have found for this. And then the score starts all by itself. Musescore will, you want to save your files in the Musescore default format, which it will do in order to be able to upload them to the website. If you're collaborating with people or you want to print, say, a PDF, you have to use the export function right here. You can export, see, as a PDF. If you're working with people who use either Finale or Sibelius, you're going to want to export to Music XML right here. That's a format that is universal across all the platforms, so you can do that very easily. You can also export an MP3 file of just the audio if you want to share the recording of the song with your ringers. Yeah, so that's kind of an overview of what the capabilities of this program are and how it relates to bells, and I think we will have some time for some questions now.
And hello, everyone. We are back. And before I get into a little introduction that we skipped before, and I'm going to introduce our panel for this video. This will be me, Sam, Barb Cote, Debbie, Linda, and Mel. So there's some information we skipped, and I'm going to really quickly go over that today. First of all, today's schedule, you just saw Musescore. At 2:30, we'll be doing a class on weaving, followed by some interactive games, some drumming, and a discussion with Jennifer Vangolin at 3 o'clock about some of the national board issues. We'll follow that by dueling rhythms at 3:30, 4 in hand at 4, because of course it has to be then. And 4:40 or 4:30 will feature an out-of-the-box problem-solving class. And then we'll be closing off this whole day with our really exciting master class featuring Michael Glasgow, Emily Lee, Tammy Waldrop, and Tim Waugh with our fabulous conductor, Barb Walsh. So that's our schedule for today. We'd just like to discuss this a tiny bit. With this whole social isolation thing, we can't do our normal spring ring, we can't do concerts, and normally this is a big fundraising event for us. So because of that, throughout this event, you're going to see a number of commercials from our fabulous sponsor, the Tintabulations Handbell Ensemble. That's right, we have a number of short little ads that will pop up explaining how you can donate, buy some music, or some super cool Tintab swag. We've even created, not one, not three, but two brand new pieces of Tintabulations art that will be available starting today, just for this event. So watch out for those. So, with that said, we're going to go right into our discussion for our Musescore class. Now, one of the first big questions we had, Sam, was copyright issues. How does that work?
So the way the copyright works is, in order to use this, you must have purchased physical copies of the music for your ringers. You need enough copies that you could be able to perform it. And then you have to use that, in the video where I showed you the settings where it says private, that means that only people who log into the account can see it. You can't search for it or anything like that. So those are the things that you need to do to be okay with that.
Okay, and another one that popped up. Is there any sort of scanning OCR software? Can you just scan in the music and have it automatically appear, or does everything have to be done by hand?
Musescore does, on their website, they do have a PDF scanner thingamajig. I have used it before unsuccessfully. I have never gotten it to scan a PDF for me. So the only way I've been able to do it is to put everything in manually.
So related to that, about how long does it take you to enter a score?
It depends. With all the shortcuts and things that I have implemented, I would say probably like Barb asked me to put one up a couple weeks ago, and I think I did it in like 2 or 3 hours.
Very good. So this is for a broader panel. How have you used Musescore to study your handbell parts? I know you do this a lot, Linda.
I do, and you know what? My audio and visual are not together at all.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it. Okay, I'll just say, okay, because I'm the newest member of Tin Tan, have not had a lot of chance to ring with a group. I do have bells at home, and I have practiced, well, all of the music that I have at home with Musescore. And the nice thing is, I can slow it way, way down. I can go down to 75% speed. It has a fantastic loop feature, so I can go over and over and over difficult parts. But slowing it down to 75 and gradually speeding up to 100%, yeah, it's been fantastic for me.
That's great. Has anyone else here practiced with Musescore at all? Played around with it? I know I have, but I'll let others talk first. How about
I
you,
have
Debbie?
been.
Just her.
Go ahead, Barb. Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's a really great tool because the vast majority of us don't have our own set of bells, and a lot of us don't have access to bells at home. So to be able to play the music at a tempo at which it makes sense to us, waving our hands madly around in the air, or however we're choosing to do it, would be really beneficial.
What were you going to say, Debbie?
Oh, I use Musescore in much the same way that Linda does. I love the looping feature and the ability to slow it down. And then I can back up a measure, just like we do in Tintabulations rehearsals. I can isolate a part, go through it. I usually set up my piano and do it chopstick style. But if I am needing to flip bell handles and do some traveling four in hand, and I'm using something else like silverware or sticks, then I can find the places that I need to grab another bell quickly or put something down. And then, as Linda said, in a gradual way, work up to speed. Even if I can't hear the sound, I can get that muscle memory going.
So, Mel, do you have any Musescore experience or just want to give some tips on how you practice at home without any handbells? Uh-oh, we can't hear you, Mel. Mel is having some technical difficulties. So let's go back to someone else while Mel tries to
can
pop
I
in.
say what? Can I say one more thing? Can I say one
Of
more
course,
thing?
go for it, Linda.
Okay, the thing about the Musescore is I've been using the Musescore app on my phone, along with the little earbuds. They'll show up in here eventually. Anyways, in order to use this Musescore, if I'm understanding correctly, Sam, we need a saint like you to go on the computer and actually put the music in.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do have to actually put the music into the software in order to be able to upload it to the app like that.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a bit of a time-intensive process, so probably something you're going to be doing as most handbell choirs for your harder songs. So we're just about out of time for our discussion panel. So any last words, Sam, as the leader of this video?
Yeah, it's a great program. It's come a long way. I've been using it for about 10 years now, and especially when they came out with version 3 a couple of years ago, it's really, I think, simpler to use than some of the other music programs out there, and it's free and it's very accessible. So it's really great, and I highly recommend checking it out.
I still need to upgrade. I'm still on 2.0.